CBS Sports does a phenomenal job covering college football, but they got one thing wrong about Ryan Day.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes, part of Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Friday, May 20th in the year 2022, and I want to thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen or first watch of every single day. On today's episode, we'll dive into and fix the mistake that CBS Sports made while ranking the college football coaches, and we'll continue our Buckeye road trip around the NFL, looking at a former Buckeye, Mr. Taekwon Lewis. But first, CBS Sports is one of my go-to spots for national coverage of college football from coast to coast. They do a phenomenal job and a great job keeping us informed and staying on top of what's going on in this phenomenal sport. Even when it comes to podcast, their podcasting of the college football, it's top notch. And so when I saw that CBS Sports college football rankings were out for 2022, I was excited. I wanted to get there, dive into there, start looking at things, compare and contrast last year's rankings to this year's rankings, read why they put coaches in certain spots. But then I saw what Ryan Day was, and it didn't sit well with me. The Big Ten has two coaches. The conference has two coaches in the top 10, 0 coaches in the Big Ten football conference in the top 5. We'll count them down 10 through 1, and you'll see why they messed something up, why I think they got something wrong. Number 10, Mike Gundy. Number 9, Jim Harbaugh. Number 8, Kyle Whittingham from Utah. Number 7, Brian Kelly down in LSU. I wonder if he's still working on his new accent. Number 6, Ryan Day, down 2 spots from where he was last year at number 4. Number 5, Jimbo Fisher. He is big mad right now. Number 4, Lincoln Riley. Number 3, Dabo Swinney. Number 2, Kirby Smart. Number 1, Nick Saban. So you mean to tell me, just by quickly glancing at this, Saban, Smart, Swinney, Riley, and Fisher are better college football coaches right now than Ryan Day? That might not sit well with you, just like it does not sit well with me, but my explanation right now means absolutely nothing, because let's have them describe and say why they put Ryan Day at number 6 instead of at number 5 or even number 4. Quote, nobody questions Day's offensive acumen, but we've seen some slippage on the defensive side of the ball in Columbus, and it's cost the Buckeyes a few games. Day has still gone 34-4 in 3 seasons, which is an incredible start. But a 2-loss season is considered a failure at Ohio State, especially when that second loss wasn't in the college football playoff. Last year also saw Ohio State's run of 4 straight Big Ten titles end, and it impacted Day's standing among our voters ever so slightly, end quote. Last year, Ryan Day was number 4. He's down 2 spots. So let me get this correct for you. They're basically saying that the 34-4 record is very impressive. Now, 3 of those wins came in the 2018 season while Urban Meyer was suspended, but that is still a 34-4 record because the 2020 season, Ohio State and everybody else played less games than normal. So 34-4 in 3 seasons, or 3 plus 3, it's still a phenomenal start to his career at Ohio State. But because he has 2 losses, which is not up to the standard that the school has set, not that the country has set, that the school has set, you drop him. Yes, not reaching the college football playoff. It's interesting. But Lincoln Riley wasn't in the Big 12 Conference Championship just like Ryan Day and Ohio State were last year. And neither was Lincoln Riley in the playoff last year. I'm confused. I'm very, very confused. Now, when you look at the Big Ten Conference, the Big Ten alone itself has 8 coaches inside the top 25. They have 6 coaches between rankings number 30 to 53. Now, when I think about that part, it's very interesting because one thing pops out. The Big Ten almost has all 14 coaches inside the top 50. If that's the case, why is the product on the field So poor by so many schools. Let's go through this. Scott Frost in Nebraska, bad. Mike Loxley in Maryland, bad. Tom Allen in Indiana, bad. Illinois and Brett Bielema at 38, bad. Rutgers and Greg Schiano, bad. Jeff Brom in Purdue, decent at times, but sometimes they're bad. Mel Tucker and Michigan State, that's where things get interesting because Mel Tucker had a bad year and then a phenomenal year, an amazing year. Can he keep it going? PJ Fleck, not bad, but more so mediocre and average. James Franklin, 15. Paul Chryst, 14. Kirk Ferentz, 13. And then Jim Harbaugh at 9. Harbaugh is up 14 spots for number 23 from last season. Will he stay in the top 10 one more year going into with next year's rankings? Well, that's to be determined. But they have some respect for the Big Ten coaches. Maybe a lot more respect than I thought they would have, because the play on the field is not the best. It's bad, as I've said so many times. But that might also be a statement of theirs that they're saying, well, the other coaches in college football, even though the Big Ten coaches, a lot of them, the teams are bad. Other teams as well in college, they're bad as well. CBS Sports, I really like you. I'm not going to deviate from your coverage. You guys do a great job. My go-to spot used to be the ESPN, the worldwide leader. But I don't even go there so much for coverage of college football. From the college football live television show, that's 30 minutes. I used to catch the podcast of that, and then I stopped. I listen to your podcast now during the season with Reese Davis and David Pollack and Kirk Herbstreit. But in the offseason, no, I don't want to listen to Adam Rittenberg and Heather Dennis talk about college football. I don't. They do a good job covering it. But I personally do not want to listen to that in the offseason. Cover 3 podcast at CBS Sports, that's my go-to. And I even wonder, do they even think, I haven't heard their reaction to this, but do they even think that Ryan Day is outside of the top 5 in college football when it comes to the coaches and ranking them? I don't think a lot of them do. I think that they could redo this, and if you could see individual brackets and rankings, you would see Ryan Day is probably in the top 5 of most coaches. He's in my top 5. He's probably in your top 5. He's probably not number 3. He's probably not number 2. We know he's not number 1. But with Ryan Day, I believe they got this thing wrong. How can we fix this? Should he move up to number 5? Should he move up to number 4? Where is Ryan Day's proper spot to sit in this year's college football rankings? Stick around to find out. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen of every single day. Now is the perfect time to make sure you check out the Locked On NBA Big Board. Host Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies and author of the NBA Big Board newsletter is joined by Richard Stamen, Sam Ferris, and Leif Thulin, giving fans an in-depth look into the NBA draft, mock draft, player rankings, and of course, big boards. It's free and available wherever you get your fine podcast. Lists are perfect for this time of year. This is not a time we normally get numerous talking points to discuss in the month of May, month of June, or even the month of July. So lists like the one CBS Sports put together are great. But since they got something wrong when they put this list together, where are we going to make some changes? What changes will we make? And where is Ryan Day's proper placement in this ranking? Well, we have a great way to discuss and dispute the rankings and declare Ryan Day's proper spot when ranking the elite coaches in college football. I got a few different things here on my piece of paper, from overall record to bowl record to CFP record to conference championships to recruiting rankings. All of these will help us really understand who the better coach is right now. All these are numbers. Even on the field, I think the numbers we see, they are things we get from play on the field. Overall winning record. Not overall winning record. The record since 2019, since Ryan Day became the full-time head coach at Ohio State, Ryan Day is 31-4, an 88.5% winning percentage. Jimbo Fisher since 2019 at A&M, 71.4% winning percentage, 25-10 records since that time period. Lincoln Riley during the same time, 31-6 winning record, which is great, an 83.7% winning percentage. That one goes to Ryan Day. Now, when you look at overall winning percentage, Ryan Day is still up there, 89.4% to Jimbo Fisher's 75.9%, to Lincoln Riley's 84.6%. Now, I think when you come to Lincoln Riley and Ryan Day, you're going to be splitting hairs a lot between these two coaches. Riley going to a new spot in LA, just got Jordan Addison. I've heard there's rumors that they gave that man the bag, $3.5 million to go there to Southern California to play the football. Legal, illegal, whatever. They are doing things out there to bring a lot of talent to Southern California, to USC. That's all I will say about that. So that one goes to Ryan Day. Now, when you look at the overall bowl record, Ryan Day is 2-2. Jimbo Fisher is 2-0. Lincoln Riley is 1-1. That is since 2019. Now, last year Lincoln Riley was not the coach during the bowl game for Oklahoma, but Oklahoma still went to a bowl game there, which is why Lincoln Riley is only 1-1. We look at Ryan Day. Ryan Day in 2019, that playoff game, the Fiesta Bowl, that is a bowl game. Even though it's a playoff game, that's still a bowl game. Sugar Bowl in 2020, a bowl game, a win. The Natty in 2020, still technically considered a bowl game, which is why that was a loss. And of course, the Rose Bowl last year, that's where you get Ryan Day's 2-2. Lincoln Riley, 2019, they won the Peach Bowl. They lost the Peach Bowl to LSU. And then in 2020, getting my years mixed up, Oklahoma won the Cotton Bowl. So that one, just sheer by him being undefeated, we will give that one to Mr. Jimbo Fisher. When it comes to your college football playoff record, this one's going to Ryan Day. Ryan Day is 1-2 in the playoff. Jimbo Fisher has not been to the playoff since being at A&M. You may remember that Jimbo Fisher was in the playoff, the very first playoff, back when Ohio State won the Natty when they beat Oregon in the national championship game. And then Lincoln Riley's only made one trip to the playoff, and that one was a loss to Georgia. I do believe that was a loss to Georgia. Georgia ended up losing the Natty to Alabama via a phenomenal pitch and catch from Tua Tagovailoa to Devonta Smith. So that's another notch right there to Ryan Day. Ryan Day has won Big Ten Coach of the Year in 2019. Lincoln Riley won Big 12 Coach of the Year in 2018. Jimbo, I don't see any of that. None of that at all. Now, Jimbo Fisher has some phenomenal things he did before going to A&M. He won 3 ACC conference championships from 2012 to 2014, won a national championship. But that's it. Lincoln Riley did something that Ryan Day has not done. He won 4 straight Big 12 conference championships, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. Ryan Day did not do that, has not done that, and last year didn't go there, so he didn't have a chance to go to win another one this past season. When it comes to conference championships during that time period, Lincoln Riley's won 2, 2019 and 2020. That's something that Ryan Day did, but Lincoln Riley didn't make it last year, neither did Ryan Day, so we'll just call that one even. We could give a point to both Riley and to Ryan Day since they're even, none to Jimbo Fisher, simply because Jimbo Fisher has only won one. He has only lost, one. He has lost 4 games or more every year but one at A&M. I don't know why my words are so hard to come out during that time period. Jimbo Fisher, 2018, 9-4, 2018, 8-5, 2020, 9-1, then last year, 8-4. Everyone's loving what Jimbo's doing on the recruiting trail and some of the transfers he's bringing in, all of those things. But when you think about the nitty-gritty and what's going on the field, Jimbo Fisher ain't that guy right now at A&M. He's leading the team, and he's keeping it afloat. 8-9 wins, that'll get you a lot of things right now in College Station. But buddy, you gotta do better. You gotta at least win the SEC. I don't care if it's a tough conference to win. You gotta do it if you want to be in this type of conversation. I'm not even looking at last year. I'm trying to use a bigger sample size than last year to compare and contrast to these coaches. When you look at the recruiting rankings, I averaged all of them from 2019 until 2022, and for Lincoln Riley, with him being at a new school, I even went through and uses USC recruiting ranking to make it even. The lowest rank. 7.75. I'm not going to say high or low because that may confuse you. When I averaged all of Lincoln Riley recruiting rankings out, this is coming from 247 Sports. His average from 2019 to 2022, Lincoln Riley's average recruiting ranking for his team is 7.75. Jimbo Fisher is 5.25. The only time Jimbo Fisher at A&M have been number one was this past year, this current year in 2022. 2019, they were number 5. 2020, they were ranked number 6, and then 2021, they were ranked number 9. So, as Nick Saban called out Jimbo Fisher for doing things with the money to bring recruits to school, I mean, I kind of see that right there. And then Ryan Day is, as an average recruiting ranking at Ohio State, at 4.5. Let all those things sink in for you. Consistent All-Americans, you can look at those as well. All of them have been really good with the consensus All-Americans. Since 2019, Lincoln Riley has 1. Jimbo Fisher has 2. Ryan Day has 4. So I'm letting the numbers depict what happens here. I understand that Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes have a standard at Ohio State. But let's compare what Ryan Day has done at Ohio State with the rest of the country and really realize putting Ryan Day at 6 is false. 5, move him up 1 spot. 4, move him up another spot. I would be way more happy if this were the ranking. I think this is where the ranking should be. Number 1, Nick Saban. Number 2, Kirby Smart. Number 3, Dabo Swinney. Number 4, Ryan Day. CBS Sports, you got it wrong. We went through a lengthy way to describe and declare who the proper coach is that should be at number 4. It is not Lincoln Riley. Jimbo Fisher should not be number 5. It should be Ryan Day at the number 4 spot. Guys, love talking ball. But let's move ahead to the NFL to discuss what a former Buckeye will do in the upcoming NFL season. Jake Arthur is back with us to help us learn about some season expectations for Mr. Taekwon Lewis with the Indianapolis Colts. As we roll on with our Buckeye road trip around the NFL, Jake Arthur, a senior analyst, covered the Indianapolis Colts for Horseshoe Huddle, is here. And as he's here with us, we got Paris Campbell recently. Another Buckeye is in Indianapolis, another Buckeye who people are hoping plays all 17 games and continues to get better and has a sustainable time and career in Indianapolis. It is Taekwon Lewis. Jake, welcome back. And Buckeyes in Indianapolis, man, they can't seem to play a full season. And I hope this young man, Taekwon Lewis, can put it all together this year.
Yeah, kind of like the same story with Paris Campbell, like you mentioned. It's just kind of been a what if thing, and he's been a really nice player, but unfortunately can't shake the injuries.
No, he cannot. He went on the IR in November of 2021 with a knee injury. In March of 2022, a few months later, he ended up signing a 1-year deal worth $3 million. What was your thought when you saw that deal went down?
Yeah, I'm glad they did it. I thought it was good for them. At his peak, when he's able to perform, he's a perfect lineman for them. He's got the athleticism and explosion to play outside, but also the size and strength to play inside. So throughout his career, they've been able to move him inside and out, just kind of a chess piece. Never a star, but just a very adequate player. You know, he's probably going to get you a few sacks every year, some tackles for loss. Equally good against the run and pass. So a very good player. It's just it's concerning with the knee injury. You know, I still probably would have done the deal with him as well. It's a low risk, decent reward type of thing. But the patellar injuries, those are tough. Those are real tough. There's actually some studies done that is the most difficult injury for NFL players to come back from. And, you know, whether it's a year or two after, there's kind of a long list of guys that have kind of hung them up afterwards. You know, Victor Cruz, LaCharles Bentley, Cadillac Williams, Jim Leonard, Brandon Gibson, and Gerard Mayo. That's kind of a significant list of players. But there have also been some redemption stories there. So it's not like all bad, but it needs to be understood that it's not like a modern ACL injury. Like, this is pretty tough. So he could come back and rebound and be himself, which would, of course, be great for the Colts and him. I think the Colts were eager to give him that chance to come back and prove himself and be healthy and give them some versatility on the line. So yeah, it was a decent move for them. They're welcoming in a new system defensively. There's still a base 4-3 front, and Gus Bradley is going to want guys who can play inside and out, just like Matt Eberflus did before him. But yeah, Taekwon, if he's healthy, they need him. They've got some defensive ends, but they need some experience. I haven't really marked him on my roster that I keep track of as someone to keep in the plans quite yet, just because you don't know what he's going to play like or what his recovery is like. But if he could be that one reliable pass rusher that they need, just a depth guy, then that's going to be really good for their rotation. Because they have some young guys, so
yeah,
having a proven guy like that would definitely be good.
With the Colts bringing in Yannick Ngakoue and then having Kwity Paye, the rookie second-year player from last year's draft, do you see Taekwon Lewis being in the backup role, kind of the first defensive end off the bench, to kind of either back up one of those two guys?
Yeah, so I think obviously Ngakoue and Paye would be your starters. Right now, I mentioned that roster that I keep track of. If Taekwon is healthy, I have him as either the first or second guy off the bench, because their second pick last year was Dayo Adengbo, he's another edge player that can play inside as well. I think they would definitely be willing to give Dayo a huge role if he could handle it, which would put Taekwon down a peg. But no, if he's healthy, I would see Taekwon as situationally the first or second end off the bench.
Do you think he'll stay healthy? Now, excuse me, not do I think do you think he'll stay healthy? Is it likely that he'll be ready for game one this year? Because you talk about how delicate, not delicate, but how severe this injury is and how hard it is to come back from it. Do you think with that in mind, he'll be ready for game one?
That's really tough to say. I haven't heard much about his recovery yet. Maybe next time we talk to Frank, that might be a good point to touch on. But I just have no way of knowing. If it was an ACL, I'd say there's a chance he could probably be ready for week one. But that patellar's tough, and I haven't heard any updates on him since it happened. It did happen midway through the season, so it's not like it was a December, January thing. So that certainly helps. A lot of knee injuries, they're back under a year, so we'll see. That'll definitely be one we have to monitor.
Yeah, man. I really hope, not just for him, for Paris Campbell, we talked about him previously, but also for Taekwon Lewis. I mean, you just want these young men to be healthy. I mean, no matter what it is. I mean, I don't want you to have an injury or have something happen to you that would mess up your career covering the Colts. And I would hopefully for all these players, I just would like health. I understand if you're not capable of being the talent, your talent is just not there to make you a starter. I completely get that. But I at least want these young men to be healthy and have a chance to be on the field to make a name for themselves so that they can hopefully sustain a career in the National Football League. Campbell's had some injury issues. Well, a lot of them. Taekwon Lewis has only played a full season with 16 games in 2020. Outside of that, the most games he's played in a single season was 9, which is in 2019. And then his rookie year and last year, he played 8 games. So you're just hoping for a clean bill of health, and that's it. If he's healthy, do you see him playing? It's the same thing I asked you about Paris Campbell. Do you see him playing 10 to 12 games this year if the knee is okay?
Yeah, he's not really someone they've made like a healthy scratch or anything like that. Other than his second year. His second year was weird. He had, I don't know, just like a nagging injury he couldn't quite shake. He wasn't quite himself in that second year. But no, other than that, if he's healthy, he's on the field. They rely on him pretty heavily. He's a guy that could probably get you 5 or 6 sacks in a full season. So yeah, if he's healthy, I imagine he'll be on the team and he'll be an important part of the defensive line rotation. Again, because he can do so much. He can play both interior positions and he can play on the outside. So they'll use him if he's healthy.
Last thing for you here really quickly. I know he's on a 1-year deal. Talk about that at the beginning when you and I first started our conversation. Do you think he gets another contract at the end of this season?
Yeah, it's kind of dependent on a couple things.
Okay.
I would think regardless they would have interest if he stays healthy. But it's just about price. Because if Dayo Odangbo starts to live up to his billing, they fell in love with him. If Odangbo starts to blow up, Kwity Paye was already good as a rookie, so and Ngakoue is on a 1-year deal as well. It just depends who else they have and how those young guys are performing. If they need Lewis, then yeah, I think that puts a slightly larger price tag on him. But at the same time, they know he's only played a full season once and that he has a knack for getting injured. So I don't think he'd be like a huge priority, but I definitely think they would be interested in bringing him back as long as he's proven himself.
Jake, glad to have you back, man. This is fun, little off-season talk
Yep.
with you. Hope to do it again next year. But for the meantime, where can people follow you on Twitter, and then where can they read some of your stuff as well? Maybe you'll do a player profile on one of these two guys, Paris Campbell
Mhm.
or Taekwon Lewis, that Buckeye fans will love to read.
Yeah, so both on Twitter and Facebook, you can find me at Jake Arthur NFL. And also, all my written work is on horseshoehuddle.com. That is si.com and Fan Nation's Colts website. So you can all find your way through there. We kind of try to be a one-stop shop Colts stuff. Get creative with some film rooms and some player analysis and things like that. So hopefully, if you guys come visit, you'll like what you see.
It's fun, man. Fun time in the offseason. Get to catch up with, talk about some former Buckeyes and see what they're going to do in the NFL. Paris
Mhm.
Campbell, a Colt. Taekwon Lewis, an Indianapolis Colt as well. Two players I'm excited to see, two players that Buckeye fans loved, and I'm glad we can get a little early taste about what we can see from them next year in the National Football League. Jake, thanks for coming back, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.